and welcome to Sport for Business, the Sponsorship Spotlight. This is a new series where we're going to look at particular properties within the Sport for Business community and look at telling their story in a way which is going to make it a compelling one for brands and agencies to take perhaps a second look at an area where they might not have considered before. Each of the projects that we're going to be looking at would be involving challenger sports, and the first of them is triathlon. Triathlon Ireland is looking for a partner of the whole sport, and we travelled out to the Sport Ireland campus to meet with Kevin Keane, who is charged with finding that right partnership for the sport. So, Triathlon Ireland, tell us a little bit about what the sport is, where it's at here in Ireland now in 2023, and we'll talk a little bit then about the opportunity there is to become a partner, but just give us the 10-cent tour as to what the sport is and where it's at.
Yeah, triathlon is swimming, biking and running put together into one sport. We're about 40 years old and we've got about 18,000 members of Triathlon Ireland. So they're people who do triathlon regularly throughout the year. We're an all-year sport, so people start doing what we call multi-sports, duathlons, which is running, biking and running, in January, and we run right up into the middle of October. We're a sport that's grown massively over the past 2 decades. We've had many years of double-digit growth, and we'll probably have a lot more people doing triathlon than others would imagine. We pride ourselves on our values of achievement, and a lot of people get into our sport because they want to do something that's about achievement and getting a real sense of self and a sense that they've pushed themselves beyond their boundaries and really achieved something. A lot of our members are incredible athletes, but the majority of them probably aren't. They're just regular men and women. We've got kids from the age of 6 who do our sport, and people right up to into their 80s regularly compete for us. We think what makes us a little different is, to just get through a triathlon. You mightn't be a great swimmer, you mightn't be a great runner, and you mightn't have ridden a bike in a number of years, but to just do a triathlon gives people an enormous sense of achievement and gives them a great sense of self-worth. And that's what we're about, is, helping people get that incredible sense of achievement and bringing those values of having a healthy lifestyle and those values of excellence into their everyday life.
18,000 people is a lot of people to actually have out there pounding the streets, jumping into the sea and doing what they do. But it's a sport which is also part of the Olympics and part of the Paralympics. So where does the partnership likely fit in terms of reaching out to the participants and also having an attachment to a sport which is going to be very much front and centre when it comes to Paris 24?
Yeah, we've a proud history of sending athletes and qualifying athletes for the Olympics since Athens, and for the Paralympics as well. We would have 2 really strong prospects for the Paralympics next year, and we'd hope to have 2 athletes in the Olympics. But where we really feel the core of our sport is in that participation piece, because what we find is, people who get into triathlon become incredibly invested in the sport because it requires quite a lot of dedication. It's not the kind of sport where people might do it on a Wednesday and then forget about it until they have to pack their gear bag on a Tuesday night to do after work. Triathlon requires people to, swim 3 or 4 times a week, run 3 or 4 times a week, and bike at least 3 times a week. So it requires an awful lot of dedication. And what we find is that it really transforms people's lives. And we see this all the time amongst our membership, is that they take up triathlon and all of a sudden they become, really committed to it. They start spending, substantial amounts of money on things like, their fitness, their equipment, and they really make triathlon part of their lifestyle, and it changes their perceptions of themselves. We feel that's a really powerful thing that all sports can bring to people, but triathlon especially, because it requires people to really invest themselves in the sport.
it's a real sport at the heart as well as the lungs and the muscles. You mentioned about the fact that it's open to all ages and from 6 to up in their 80s. One of the really nice things that I always liked about it is when it comes to European and World Championships, we might have a team of 80 people that will actually go there to represent Ireland, to pull on a jersey at age grades. So you could be at the age of 41 or 63 or 75, you could be competing for Ireland in your age grade against your fellow peers. That's a rarity in sport.
Yeah, absolutely. We call it age group racing, and we regularly send a few hundred people abroad to represent Ireland. These are amateur triathletes, and they race against other amateur triathletes from other countries in the world. We've one of the highest participation rates for triathlon in the whole world. We're about fourth in the world in terms of our participation rates per head of capita, and in terms of international age group racing, we'd be even higher than that. So, it's a kind of wonderful thing, and I guess it just shows the power of our sport on people's, self-perception, and on how we can help transform people's lifestyles.
From a new partner point of view, the ask is of a brand to actually come on board and be a partner with the sport. You've been blessed over the last decade. You've had Vodafone, you've had BMW, both of whom very happy, multiple renewals along the way. What is it that worked for them that you think now might be appropriate for a brand going into, where Triathlon Ireland is in 2023 and for the next period of time?
Yeah, we have been, we had incredibly good partnerships both with Vodafone and BMW, and each of them sought a different thing from their partnerships with Triathlon Ireland, which I think illustrates how partner focused we are and how flexible we are in terms of tailoring our offering according to the requirements of a sponsor. For Vodafone, they were focusing a lot on brand affinity and also on engaging their staff in an activity where they were able to bring them out and really engage them in a sport and do that staff engagement piece. So we were able to send our development officers into their company and then bring them out to a race at the end of the year, which I think they found really enjoyable and really helped them see how Vodafone was supporting a sport in its grassroots. For BMW, it was very much a sales piece. What we were able to offer for BMW was, complete alignment between our brand and BMW in terms of values. We shared a lot of similar values. But the major thing we were able to do for BMW was give them a full service activation offering. So we were able to go out to in excess of 25 events every year and brand those events up with BMW assets and make sure that they had a really recognizable BMW feel. BMW held the title rights to our major competition, which was the BMW National Series. All those events had a real BMW feel to them, and they were very professionally staged. And we were able to do that for BMW without any additional cost on top of the sponsorship fee, because we've invested heavily in our activation team, because we know that often signing a sponsorship or a partnership is only the beginning of making a partnership a success. So we really focus on activating our events so that we can really close the circle on those partnerships and make sure they're successful and deliver what it is a partner wants. Ultimately, we understand that making a success out of the partnership means delivering on what a particular partner's requirements are, and so that's what we really focus on.
Is it fair to describe triathlon as a stretch sport, so that you're actually going to attract people who, as you said earlier, are willing to commit themselves to it? You can't just dip your toe into triathlon and get the reward from it. It's something that gives you a huge amount back so long as you put in an amount. There's a particular kind of an individual who would tend to perform well in school, in education, in business, and become part of that sort of leadership group. Is there a concentration of really talented people within triathlon?
I think it's fair to say that perhaps the stereotype does have a fair degree of truth in it. We find that people who do our sport, they want to achieve, they want to kind of bring excellence into their lifestyle, and they have to be fairly disciplined and fairly organized in order to do triathlon. We've carried out research of our membership, and we've got a very high proportion of ABC1 demographic. We've got well above average earners within our community. We've got a lot of CEOs, CFOs, business owners, those types. The vast majority of our members have a third level education. A lot of our members work in finance, health insurance, banking, these types of sectors. We also have 40% female participation, which is something we're very proud of, and we have a strategic plan which aims to increase that even further. So we like to think of ourselves as, we really do strive to be as inclusive as possible, because we feel that we need to reflect wider society within our sport. But I think it is true that we have a particular demographic. The vast majority of our members are aged between 35 and 55. So a lot of them are in that period in life where they're making decisions about purchasing houses, purchasing health insurance, life assurance, and making big decisions in their lives around childcare and around the kind of direction of their lives. So we feel that those are the kinds of people that if a sponsor is interested in, we have an abundance of those types of demographics, and that really is the core of our sport.
Sponsorship is quite a sophisticated business these days. It's gone way beyond the idea of just badging a tournament or a truck or a bike or whatever it might be. How are you fixed in terms of your knowledge of the database, your knowledge of those who are really committed to triathlon, and are you in a position to deliver that audience to a partner coming in?
Yeah, we understand what's involved in making a partnership successful. So just to give one instance, for BMW, we had an opt-in on our membership system whereby people could opt in to receive direct communications for BMW. More than 40% of our members actually opted into that, which I think shows a lot of the affinity that our community has towards our title partners, because they understand the work and the investment those title sponsors put into our sport, and they really appreciate that.
So this really is looking to be a partnership. You're looking at a multi-year deal to get a measure of consistency into it. What do you think of when you wake up in the morning in terms of a sector or a particular kind of brand that you feel, knowing the sport as well as you do, would be particularly well suited and who would be a particularly good fit for what you're trying to achieve with the sport?
Yeah, we've a reasonably open mind about that. I think that who we're suited to is a brand which wants to align itself with our values, which are excellence and achievement and inclusivity, and which finds value in the nature of our community, which are people who kind of want to achieve things, people who are aged between 35 and 55, 40% female, and who are above average earners, and who are kind of in that period in life where they're making decisions about their futures, and who are looking to kind of who are working in businesses where they're making decisions about investments and about budgets, those types of things. We've a lot of budget holders, a lot of CEOs, a lot of kind of financial directors of companies involved in our membership.
It is a very powerful demographic that you have. It's a very powerful commitment that they have shown to the sport as well. And it definitely has the look of a partnership that could really deliver for a brand out there. Kevin Keane from Triathlon Ireland, thanks very much for taking the time with us today.